Well, I'm actually glad to hear that you're really worried about China. It's about time that everybody's worried about China. So I'm especially excited to be here because, not only because of the news and the heightened chaos around the US-China trade war and the Huawei ban, but because this is my sweet spot. I've been tracking Huawei for over a decade. I ran a competitive intelligence and global sales support program at Cisco Systems, helping sales teams all over the world strategize and try to save and win business when Huawei was growing in popularity, right, and coming out in emerging markets. And I realized that this is not just a blip, right? Huawei, the Chinese challenge, this was the New World Order. And it isn't just the China challenge, it's how emerging market competitors do business, and they do business differently. And so we as Westerners need to understand that. And it's time for us to change, right? We have set the bar for a few decades, and China and other emerging countries have learned from us, and they learned pretty well. And they've caught up. So now we have to do a little bit of learning and adjusting as well for us to maintain our global competitiveness. Now, what is the trade war really about? What is President Trump pushing back on China for? Unfair trade practices, right? And China might say, well, we just do business differently. And they are unfair per the Western trade laws and also international trade organization laws. The joint venture forced technology transfers. So China got smart and they said, hey, we have leverage. People, Western companies are looking to come over and take advantage of our almost 1.4 billion person population. And hey, well, if they want to come over here, we're going to ask them to partner with a local Chinese company. And hey, wouldn't that be a great idea for us to actually learn and get smarter on certain technologies? And of course, Western companies say, hey, of course, China's the new frontier. The middle class is rising. I would love to invest in China. Okay, if that's the deal, then I have to compromise. So what does this all really mean? Protectionism is at play, and America and its allies or other Western countries are also playing defense, right? They're hatcheting down, they're protecting the fort, they're saying nobody comes in here. And before I get into more of the details of the effects of that, let's take a look at why. So the West is kind of taken by surprise of China's growth. We've kind of positioned them as just the manufacturing giants. We just send our products over there. They do a great job at producing them and manufacturing them at a really good price. And then we come back, we sell them on our markets, make great margins. Thank you, China. Right? They also have really good ecosystems. Supply chain is there. So for example, the Apple phone, okay, they even use American Corning glass, but Corning moved their manufacturing plant to China in order to be closer to the manufacturing plants for the Apple iPhones. Okay, so they have these ecosystems. So we really became dependent on that, and we turned a blind eye. We're just like, oh yeah, okay, they're doing stuff, they're growing, they're getting smarter, their economies are growing, but it's okay. We'll figure it out later. But then what happened was they became more of a disruptor. They became economically strong, and their global expansion just blew up, right? And now they're doing the Belt and Road Initiative, which is another aspect. And so not only are they growing, but they're becoming innovators, okay? So this is another reason everybody is kind of feeling the China pain. They have market access, and they're using this as a negotiating tool. It's supply chains, as I talked about as well. And they're also heavily investing in innovation. So the US's innovation advantage is being challenged. That's essentially the crux of it. We have been the innovation leaders, and now somebody else is coming up pretty fast. This is not just about China, too, right? Because then now this is what they call, there's a Cold War in play, and there's going to be teams. Are you going to be Team China, or are you going to be Team USA? And so the countries across the world are being forced to choose, so to speak, or they may be forced to choose. We got to figure out how to play a little bit differently. Right? So we have to reclaim our innovation advantage, and we have to accept that there's an interdependency of nations. I call this a co-opetition play. Okay? So protectionism essentially is, hunker down, right? Close down the hatches. But you can't do that for a very long time. And I'm very passionate about the whole 5G situation because really, in my opinion, we, US, Canada, other Western countries, we took our eye off the ball, but especially US and Canada, because we don't have a primary play. And how do we manage that? You can't really play the protectionism play for very long. So my whole bit is, I hope in the background, the US is hustling and trying to catch up. How do we become a player in 5G? How do we overcome these national security concerns and the feelings of espionage? How do we start using our innovation brawn and our intelligence and figure out a bigger solution, right? So co-opetition is essentially a combination of cooperation and competition. How do we start playing, and how do we collaborate and play all in the same sandbox so that we can have the ripple effect of success across the board? All right, so let's take a look at what you as investors, some questions you can ask as you're looking at your companies and evaluating, are they protected?